Hi, and welcome to another edition of Feed Your Head from Wonderland Antiques. Today we're going to take a little walk through kind of our root cellar or stoneware room and talk about a couple of different types of jars and crocks and stoneware. There is so much to learn about stoneware, but we're just going to talk about some very basic things that might help you if you're a beginning collector or you have some things that you just really don't understand why they look the way they look or why this one is more expensive than that one. So we're basically just going to talk about a few things that I have in the store as opposed to, every kind of stoneware that there is known to man. So what we're going to start with first is, say this crock right here. As you can see right here, this is a number 3, and that's called a bee sting. Or hand decorated. Generally, it is done in blue, but it's not always blue. I've seen black and red. But a jar like this is generally, you would be able to date this thing to pre-Civil War. And the reason I say that is because at the end of the Civil War, we had what they called the Industrial Revolution, where lots of things became more automated and more assembly line type things. And so when you see a crock that's hand decorated like this, that generally will tell you that it's, pre-Civil War. Now, unless I don't have one in here because I really don't do reproductions, but, you see a lot of these studio made, hand decorated pottery. Well, don't be confused. Basically, this is one of those times where if a jar has some dings and some dents, and here's another one, then that is a good clue as to its age. I mean, if it looks pristine, it's probably not a very old crock. Now, on this one, you can see barely, but you can see this number 6 goes like so. And then here's what they consider the bee. Lots of times it's a flower, but they just call it a bee sting. And this mottled look on here is basically just from something greasy being put inside that crock and stored. And maybe there was a tiny little pinhole in the inside glaze, and that grease, seeped through the crock. To me, that doesn't do anything but add charm. So lots and lots of crocks are not marked, so we don't know what factory made them. Now, some expert might know that knows everything about, but see if you notice the double incised ring here, that's probably a signal to someone who collects just this type of stoneware that this was made in a certain factory. Now, see these things right here, they're handles. Lots of people call them ears, and basically they're, so you can pick up the jar, and as you can see, there's 2 of them on there. The bottoms of these jars are going to be relatively flat, but you can see the rings. Most of these are thrown on a wheel. This one is what they call salt glaze, and you can see, let me see if I can get really close in there. See all that little specks and stuff? That tells you that is a salt glaze. Something like this, see how white it is? Because that's a much, much newer jar. It's old, but it's much, much newer than the one I just showed you. That is not salt glaze. It's really just something that you learn to look at. Lots and lots of people call everything salt glaze because, they want it to be pricey. Now, that's an unusual little jug up there. Very strange shape. It's really skinny. I really think that is not American, but I could be wrong about that. But I don't believe that that's American. I think it's probably European. So something like this is actually a little advertising butter crock. Lots and lots of people love these kind of little things because you can put stuff in them on your counters. I sell a ton of little guys like this or like this because people will put their utensils, inside. Now, we were talking a minute ago about, hand decorated stoneware. This was the next type of a thing where basically they used a stencil, and you can see This is also a salt glazed jar, and you can see that, you know, it was very primitively done, and that's a great jar because it is attributed to a certain maker from a certain place in Pennsylvania. Much later, they came up with a stamp like this that was not a is more like a transfer rather than a stencil that was sprayed. Now, when you find a jar like this and you see the lid like there, the mouth like that, that is a canner jar. That's for canning, and it would have they would have used, you know, little small lids. Let's see, I've got some around here somewhere, like these. That would fit. It's pretty tough to match them up, but you know, you can find. There's a nice little flat guy. And then they would have used what's called sealing wax, which is some of this stuff right here. And basically it's that red, it's real brittle. I mean, when you heat it up, it becomes a liquid, a very sticky, you know, thick liquid. You put the sealing wax around the edge of that jar, and then you mash your lid down, and it basically seals the jar, just like, you know, a canning lid would today. And you can see, okay, so another type of a stoneware piece would be a jug. And these jugs would have been used for any kind of liquids like vinegars, could have been whiskey, syrup, honey, you know, that kind of a thing. So this jar right here, maybe I can find another one. Well, that's the same thing. It's kind of dark. Those are considered, they're called beehives. Because they kind of look like, you know, rounded like a bee skep, actually. This type of a jug, same kind of a jug, but this is called a shoulder, you know, a shouldered jug. So that's a little bit different thing. And then, you know, there's lots of different kinds of canners. Like, look at that lid. That's opening. It's very flat and way up to the top of the jar. It's not it's just a style, not necessarily, you know, anything super different. Here's a weir lid on top. You can see how the bail looks. I mean, this bail flips up. See that little T-bar fits right into that line right there, and then snaps down like that. And then, I was going to show you these churns. Okay, so these are churns. And how you can tell, well, not that one, but these two on the ends are both churns. And how you can tell a churn from a jar is it's got that big flat rim like that. And look inside there. You can see that was hand turned. Somebody threw that big giant pot on a wheel. And then that is the churn lid. And then, of course, well, I probably don't have one. Here's the bottom of an old dasher. That's what it looks like. These are easy to make. They have holes in them like that so that the liquid can squish through, you know. So you're making butter from heavy cream that you got from your cow's milk. Anyway, there's a bunch more. Oh, here's one. This is a churn with a lid. See if I can get that open so I can show it to you. So, see that? That's a replacement, which is not a killer for a churn because, I mean, they're made of wood, and so they, you know, they break a lot. But then I have lots and lots of, like, these little guys. These were maybe, I mean, they could have been anything. You know, those could have been, like, mustards or hot sauce. That was kind of a big thing. That is a horseradish. See that little guy right there is a horseradish jar. But anyway, there's so many different kinds of things, but generally these were always for liquids. And generally, these were always for, you know, something like a maybe salt. Generally, you could tell the difference on a salt crock is going to have a rounded bottom. I don't think I have one of those in here right now. But you'll notice at the bottom, instead of being squared off like that, it would be very rounded so that when you reached in, you could grab that salt and it would come right up with your hand as opposed to getting stuck in a crack. So anyway, anybody have any questions, they're more than welcome to give me a shout. But thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.